Fast analysis. What do they do the best?
Well, we talk offensively, but it's really on the defensive end. They come up with more stops when they have to. Take a look at their big men. No matter what big men are out there, this time it's Takari Johnson, Willie Cauley-Stein. They protect on the backside, so the outside guys can be effective. This ball never touches the paint against a very good LSU team. The three guys out front, they can be aggressive on the ball knowing they're protected behind. As the play rolls, they now protect from driving, and they'll challenge jump shots. Again, help defense, stay in front of your man, challenge with your lengths. Ball never gets inside, and when they rebound it, they run the floor as well as anyone.
That's our AT&T Fast Analysis. When you look at this Kentucky defense, obviously it starts their offense. Nobody does it better in the country in terms of holding opponents to a 34% percentage from the field. Third member of our team has made it inside Humphrey Coliseum. She's down on the baseline. Kaylee Hartung. Hey, Kaylee.
Hey, guys. Well, Kentucky has made a habit out of filling arenas when they go on the road. Mississippi State was sold out with the exception of about 400 tickets, I'm told, for tonight. But some of those fans have had some difficulty getting to the arena tonight with treacherous conditions in this state, ice and snow on the roads, and not enough resources to take care of things. A lot of roads in this state are closed, and not all Mississippi State fans live in Starkville. A lot of them traveling from as far as Jackson, Mississippi, 2 hours away to get here. Now, classes were canceled today. The students are here in full effect, and the arena invited all students seated in the upper decks to come down to the lower bowl. I saw some Kentucky fans follow suit. I don't know how you police that.
Kentucky fans can get in anywhere. It's amazing. Look at our starting lineups. Harrison Towns, Cauley-Stein, Lyles, Thomas, Reddy, Sword, Ware, and Johnson from Mississippi State. And the Wildcats will have the opening possession from Humphrey Coliseum. Mississippi State at 12-15, 5-9 in league play, and right away the Cats get on the board. It took about 10 seconds.
Yeah, well executed. Man-to-man defensively by Rick Ray's ball club. Excellent ball handling. Threw it up. Easy 2 points.
Trey Lyles, the first basket of the game. Now I.J. Reddy with a bad ankle. Did not play in their last outing.
And we'll see how effective Reddy is. He likes the open court, likes to push it, see if he can get some early buckets.
Harrison back the other way after the Mississippi State turnover. Makes the Bulldogs pay at a quick timeout by Mississippi State.
Yeah, what a great start by Kentucky. When we talk early about pressure, we talk about the win streak, the pursuit of perfection. It doesn't bother a team when you're good, you're confident, and you come in ready to play. Now, this is obviously the fewest fans they've played in front of since, Dave, you had them in Puerto Rico.
The Bahamas.
The Bahamas. Puerto Rico.
The same one. Close. But it's, talking to the Kentucky staff right before tip-off tonight, they were very concerned. This is one of those games that they felt could be a trap game. You have Arkansas looming around the corner, a team that's playing really well. You're in an environment where certainly it's not a capacity crowd, which they're accustomed to. It's been kind of a weird couple of days here in Mississippi, but it appears that this Kentucky team is focused tonight.
Smart play by John Calipari is the fact that he's pressing early, get his club into it. They were confident at shoot-around. And Rick Ray, who obviously would have liked a nicer weather outside and packed this building, but with the lower bowl full, it will get very noisy if his squad can get off to a decent start. They've had 2 great days of practice. Confident. They played well last year here against Kentucky. They played well last year in Lexington. They actually led at halftime.
Well, the problem for Mississippi State this year, I mean, if you could pinpoint one thing, it's been their turnovers. They are dead last in the conference, committing 15 turnovers per game. And Kentucky's forcing turnovers to the tune of 14.8 per game. That combination does not bode well for the Bulldogs.
How do you stay close? Obviously, Ole Miss and A&M had some very good games. Well, Moody had 25 for Ole Miss. House had 25 for A&M. When I walk in tonight, I think Fred Thomas and Craig Sword have to shoot lights out.
Haven't played a minute yet. Mississippi State used 2 timeouts. Here's Sword, gets it off to Gavin Ware.
On-ball screens are very difficult. Kentucky will eat you alive if you pick too many times.
Shot clock at 5. Craig Sword, this is what he does. He can dribble, penetrate, back up. Floater's good.
Had the slow start this season because of the back surgery he had in the summer. But he has been terrific in conference play, averaging over 13 a ball game.
Here's Willie Cauley-Stein. Aaron Harrison. Back to Andrew with 111 assists on the year. That is 6th in the conference. Towns had it stripped by Craig Sword. Sword.
Dave, the hump will be electric. I don't care what number of bodies are here. They didn't have school today, and they have been fired up since we walked in at 4:30.
Here's Towns working on Gavin Ware. Just backed him all the way to the rim.
Mismatch. In practice, Mississippi State worked on maybe a quick double on bigs with bigs. We'll see if they go to that next time.
Sword. Off to I.J. Reddy.
Surprised Sword didn't use the fact that he had Harrison off his feet.
Offensive rebound underneath. Ware can't get it to go. Rebound to Towns. Here's Lyles. Trey Lyles at 6'10". Takes it inside. Finger roll off the back of the rim. Won't go. And a foul against Kentucky. I think Karl Anthony Towns will pick that one up.
Well, missed bunnies on both ends. Ware will normally make on his end, and Lyles will normally make that shot.
Trey Lyles, good to see him back on the floor. Missed a couple of weeks. That strep throat kept him away from everybody. Nobody saw him.
In this lineup for Kentucky, of the 5, there aren't really guys that are just catch and shoot guys on the break. When Booker comes in, that changes the game. And this Bulldog team, obviously execution. I don't think you need to pump fake. If you've got an open shot, you got to take it, because Kentucky will gobble you up defensively.
Ready. They have a switch.
And keep an eye. Willie Cauley-Stein plays such a great middle linebacker or center field, whatever sport you want to label it, in the middle of that paint.
Oliver Black had it ripped out of his hands for a moment. His jump hook at the shot clock board is perfect.
Stayed with it. Once it was knocked away, looked like the shot clock was going to expire. There's the quick double. They didn't do it the first time. They did it that time.
Harrison for 3. No good. Reddy has it.
Rick Ray wants his guys to push. Thinks that's the easiest way to score against this Kentucky team.
But now you've got a run out. 2-on-1. Harrison, alley-oop, throw down by Lyles.
Woo. Wow.
And Craig Sword got stepped on in the process as Lyles came down from the rim.
How quickly, again, this team can go from one end to the other. Kentucky, it's hard to score. The block shot, the push, the lob, the finish. Sword was right underneath when Lyles came down.
All 8 of Kentucky's points have come from the paint. Cats lead it by 2. Craig Sword in traffic, fouled, and he'll head to the free throw line. Vintage Craig Sword on that possession. But Kentucky up 2 here on the road. Their high-flying act here in Starkville. Back in a moment. On the road over Mississippi State. You've talked about it, that somebody, if not 2 guys, at least somebody has to go for a big night. And Craig Sword's capable of that. He has had a couple of games where he has had explosions. He had 27 this year against Ole Miss back on January 28th. He's averaging almost 19 a game over his last 3. Career high 33 against LSU last year. Will step to the free throw line. But that's really one of the many facets that have to unfold if you want to upset Kentucky. Somebody's got to go crazy.
Yeah, and now in his junior year, he's had plenty of minutes. He had the back surgery. He struggled prior to SEC play. But since SEC play, shooting nearly 47%. He's aggressive. He's confident. He just went over 1,000 points as a career scorer here at Mississippi State. You add that, if he can get teammate Fred Thomas going, and Thomas has been struggling last 5 ball games.
Marcus Lee checks in along with Eulis, Dakari Johnson. Booker checks in. Aaron Harrison stays on the floor with this group, and a foul on the inside against the Bulldogs. And that will go against Craig Sword.
And after the quick double team last possession, John Calipari switched it quickly. They put it back inside the quick double team. Dakari Johnson stepped right inside, and Mississippi State couldn't adjust to it.
Dakari Johnson 61% at the free throw line. Coming off 13 points where he had 6 of 7 from the field, 6 rebounds in that explosive win against Auburn.
Another area that Kentucky is so much better than people assume is the free throw line. 74% in SEC play. Down the stretch, they make big free throws. Dakari Johnson, you said 61. Last year's a freshman, only a 45% free throw shooter. All of their guys have upped their averages this season.
Ready, defended by Lyles.
Quick.
Slips past Tyler, then Marcus Lee slaps it out of there. Tapped around right to Harrison.
You know, at ready size, there's not many places you can go when you take it inside.
Booker, quick fast break, lays it in off the window. Coming back home, sort of. Played his high school ball down on the coast at Moss Point, Mississippi, right near Pascagoula.
He's got that luxury as a shooting guard. You play solid few minutes or seconds of defense, and you head to the other way. You've got some big dudes behind cleaning stuff up. Good matchup, though, Booker on Fred Thomas.
Taken away by Harrison, keeps it alive, throws it right to Fred Thomas for the throwdown. That was a gift by Kentucky.
And maybe that jump starts of Fred Thomas. Last 5 games, only 30% from the field, only 5 points average. And he is a guy that is capable of going over 20 points.
Won't go, and a push in the back on Johnson. And we'll go the other way with it.
Dave, Kentucky's been active defensively. They block shots. Here's a good play here, and you try not to save it. You would save it to the other way, to your basket down the other end. But you can't complain about good hustle. Just happened to go Mississippi State's way.
And Willie Cauley-Stein checks in quickly for Dakari Johnson, who's getting an earful from his head coach on that Wildcat bench. Craig Sword. Off to Travis Daniels. Didn't think we'd see Travis very much tonight. He twisted an ankle at practice yesterday. Been in treatment all afternoon. Daniels pull-up shot off the back of the rim, no good. Towns the rebound.
Well, solid block out. It allows the Wildcats to run the floor.
Harrison, catch, shoot, perfect. Aaron Harrison with his 44th 3 of the year. Kentucky's lead is 5, 13:34 to go. Opening half, Dave Neal, John Sunvold, Kaylee Hartung from Humphrey Coliseum as Daniels kicks it out of bounds. And that has been a sight that Rick Ray has seen too many times this year. Careless turnovers by his club.
Yeah, unforced errors. And like you said, it's happened too many times. When they don't do it, they're in most ball games, have a chance to win. This Kentucky team puts so much pressure for your execution on the offensive end. And then when they come the other way, Bruce Pearl had a great line. He said they're the most physically offensive team we've played. They set great picks, they push, they shove, they get good positions, and they knock in shots.
Willie Cauley-Stein shot an air ball right into Daniels' hands. Thomas now on the wing.
That's the one as a player on the road, you cringe because you know you're going to hear it the rest of the night. Wow.
But then Thomas returns the favor, and he shoots an air ball.
I would say as a shooter, Thomas must have just simply lost control of that ball going up.
Long outlet. Rockwez Johnson.
It's fun to watch Willie Cauley-Stein play defense. 7 feet, 240 pounds, can guard all 5 positions on the floor. It's a rarity.
Foul on the inside as Rock Johnson going to the basket. So Devin Booker picks up the foul, his first, and that'll send Johnson to the free throw line, 69% foul shooter on the year. Coming off 8 points, 6 boards against Arkansas.
Carried this team early in the season. When Sword was out, I.J. Reddy had back surgery, struggling to get his game going. Had 22 against Missouri, as you mentioned, and really maybe won that game for Mississippi State on the road. You must convert free throw line, though, when you're at home.
Andrew Harrison kicks it out to Lyles. And a push in the back. That was pretty apparent. Kalou Noy, the redshirt freshman out of Senegal, will pick up that foul. That'll be the second team foul against the Bulldogs with 12:31 to go here in the first half.
Match up 2-3 zone from the underneath out of bounds.
Harrison.
Shot with confidence, too.
His 23rd three, 35% behind the arc. Kentucky's lead is 18.
And Andrew Harrison getting his game going. Has struggled this season. Last 8 ball games, over 12 points a game. Shooting the ball with confidence. He stepped into that one.
Daniels will dump it down to Johnson. Here's Thomas. Defended by the 7-footer, Cauley Stein. Noy with a screen for Daniels. Pull up 3. Well off the mark. Lyles. Harrison kicks it to Lyles.
Harrison in good attack mode again. Catches it with confidence. Misses that one.
Cauley Stein offensive rebound. Traveling violation against Willie Cauley Stein. Kentucky's lead is 8. Under 12 media timeout. Back to Starkville after this. Those close calls, the Cats still beat their opponents by an average of 22 points per game. You see some of those close games at halftime where they were either down or tied. They would find a way to win, and that's what great teams do. I mean, it hasn't been all easy, but they've been tested, and they have stayed strong down the stretch. Let's go over to Kaylee Hartung.
Coach, just 39 seconds into this game, you called a timeout. What were you able to affect with that move?
Well, the thing was we were supposed to post trap right away, and then we turned the ball over right away because we didn't run the right set play. So I just wanted to make sure I got our guys to calm down and do the things we asked them to do to start the game.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
He'll try to draw a play up here. This Bulldog offense hasn't produced a point in the last 3 minutes, 10 seconds. Here's Fred Thomas just across the midcourt stripe. Javonte Bloodman will run the point.
And Sword's been the guy to get buckets. Good backdoor cut. Again, when you have an open look against Kentucky, you've got to shoot it. If you ball fake, it allows Kentucky to regather themselves, contain you, and now everything becomes difficult because shot clock's running down.
Sword. That 3 won't go. Took that shot with 4 on the shot clock. Here's Lyles back the other way. Kentucky, 7 of 12 to start the game, 58%. Mississippi State, 4 out of 12, 33%.
And Kentucky already 10 points in the paint. They had 62 points in the paint against Auburn. Shot 65% from the field.
That'll help your numbers, won't it?
Yes, sir.
Here's Lyles with 6 on the shot clock. Goes inside.
Patience off the dribble. He had size advantage on Sword. Used a little half hook with his off arm. Smart play. Went right to the rim.
It's an 8-0 Kentucky run. Lyles with 6 now.
Look at this Kentucky defensive team. Denying passes, protecting the rim.
Well, that'll send Rock Johnson, who was hammered on the way to the rim, back to the free throw line. Rockwez 0 for 2 at the line tonight. Mississippi State shooting 69% at the free throw line, the 8th best percentage in the conference. Rock Johnson been to the line a bunch, 124 times on the year, averaging just shy of 10 points. Only one player in double figures for Mississippi State. That's Gavin Ware at 10.2 points, and Gavin, no points, but 3 rebounds so far.
And recognition now by the Bulldogs have to be when Booker checks in for the lineup for Kentucky, it changes how they can play on the offensive end. And his ability to catch and release, one of the best shooters in the country.
Reach in foul by Gavin Ware. And that'll be the first on Ware, 3rd team foul. Well, last weekend, this Auburn basketball team tried to run with Kentucky, and all Kentucky did was put up 110 points, the most in an SEC game since they put 120 on Vanderbilt back in 1996.
You know, Dave, is interesting. 2 months ago, Bruce Pearl, we were talking about Kentucky, and he said, we're just going to play. I'm going to see how many shots I can get up, see what happens. We saw it happen.
Right. Gavin Ware won't go. Gavin's had a couple that have rolled around the cylinder and kicked out.
And there are so few second attempts against this Kentucky team, even though they double and challenge shots inside.
Booker misfired. Ware the rebound.
And where teams have challenged Devin Booker in the last few ball games is they've made Booker put it on the floor, and they've challenged his jump shot.
Well, Sword just traveled with the basketball as Andrew Harrison challenged him. Was there contact? You know what? From my angle, it didn't look like there was contact. It looked like Craig Sword might have enhanced that.
In the old basketball terms, he was surprised there was a defender there. He was about ready to travel before they even whistled the travel.
Booker off the screen. That one's perfect.
Again, offensively it changes. Booker comes in. They can run him off screens. You've got to jump out. You've got to trail him. You can't let him get on a roll because then Kentucky becomes an even better offensive machine.
Here's Sword, baseline. Fouled by Willie Cauley-Stein on the way up.
And I think a smart play by Rick Ray. Booker is a freshman. On one end, he will make shots, comes off screens, catches, releases. But on the other end, if you catch it against him, I think you attack. I think you attack Booker, and I think you attack Ulis when they're in the game. Make them play defense. Now, they have the luxury of guys behind them that can wipe out shots, but you've got to put pressure on.
Sword now with 7. Kentucky will go with the Harrison twins. Lyles, Booker, and Willie Cauley-Stein.
And obviously through the mindset if you're a Mississippi State player, you now have a player in Craig Sword that is shooting it well and playing well. You've got to find him, get some screens for him, get him open for shots.
Mississippi State will go with Sword, Ware, Demetrius Houston, Johnson, and I.J. Reddy.
When Booker gives it up, watch him come. He runs baseline, one side to the other. Sword's got to chase.
Here's Lyles.
Nice pass.
Baseline jumper. Cauley-Stein there trying to put it home, but Lyles will clean it all up. 3 chances on that possession.
Any coach that watches film is trying to tell his guys, don't give up on your guy. Lyles shot an air ball. Brock Johnson just chased and watched. Lyles went in and got the rebound.
Mississippi State has missed their last 5 shots, just 1 of 8. That's allowed Kentucky to open up an 11-point advantage. Back in a moment. Kentucky in pursuit of perfection. 27-0 on the year. The #1 ranked team in the country, leading Mississippi State 24-13. Just under 8 minutes to go here in the opening half from Humphrey Coliseum, where you see quite a bit of blue in the building. Not many folks in the upper decks. Of course, the weather has just been horrendous here the last 2 or 3 hours. In this Starkville area, just snow coming down earlier, just about an hour before the game. It was coming down so hard you could barely see, but certainly folks made it in. Let's join Kaylee, who's caught up with Coach Cal.
Coaches, Mississippi State won for their last 8 shots. How do you continue to build this 11-point lead?
Well, we got to hope they miss them because some of the stuff we're missing on some of the switches and some other stuff. I'm just wanting us to play faster, to play more aggressive, to get up and pressure a little bit more.
All right, we'll see how that transpires. Kentucky trying to push the tempo. That's what Rick Ray told us today at shoot-around, too, is that He wants to play fast. Get the defensive rebound. That's a big if you can get that rebound, and then go. Craig Sword.
Well, there's no doubt it's the easiest way to score if you push and take quality shots. Again, I don't think against Kentucky you cannot take the open ones and hold it for a better shot, because you probably won't get a better shot. And what Coach Cal has said is right. If his team plays a little faster, a little more aggressive, more in attack mode, especially Harrison with the ball, he's been better the last few games at attacking, then they're a better offensive team that puts more pressure on a team on the defensive end.
Oliver Black, the freshman out of Jackson, Mississippi, rips the ball away from Cauley Stein. Here's Sword. Cross-court pass.
And sometimes the game is simple, Dave, and sometimes it's not. Oh, good pass. Good finish.
That looks simple.
And what I mean by that is Reddy had Thomas in the corner if you give it up at the half court. But 2 more dribbles, and then you make the pass, your guy's covered against this Kentucky team. To beat a great team, and we understand this Kentucky team has a chance to run the table. They're one of the great teams we've seen in many, many years of college basketball. You've got to be prepared as a player for all things that can happen and make quick decisions.
Count the basket. Lyles going strong to the hoop. Will have one.
How about this patience? No double team, so he waits and then attacks. Bigger, stronger, more confident with the basketball.
So Lyles already with 10 points tonight. He is 5 out of 7 from the field. This young man ready to play as he's fit and healthy after that bout with strep throat.
You know, David, when you double team them, this Kentucky team averages over 15 assists a game. It's the best under Coach Cal since he's been at Kentucky. It's a very unselfish squad.
And that's exactly what Coach Cal said to us today. I said, you know, most improved player. He says, you know what, I think across the board we're all better.
Yeah.
We're better players, we're better coaches, and the best thing about this club is we got a bunch of stars who aren't thinking about themselves. It's about the team. And he says that's the most important aspect of this group that I'm looking at every day.
And you go back, and it doesn't matter what sport, when you're talking about great teams, that's what they all have in common. It's about winning. And when we watch this Kentucky team all season long, you're impressed by there's not a player out there thinking about the stat sheet. Not a one.
Let's get more from Kaylee.
I mentioned the 25 assists last game that Kentucky had against Auburn, a season high for them. Coach Cal told me today, keep in mind, we've got about 150 more assists than turnovers, and that's a big number, especially for a team who plays fast and attacks. It's a stat that makes him happy.
I mean, you could look down the stat sheet. There's probably 4 or 5 of those every night that the coach will smile about. You may not see it during the course of the game, but you see a guy like Trey Lyles just going crazy right now here in the first half.
And what a pass by Aaron Harrison. Attack the rim. Understand that you've got bigs that can go above everybody else, but also to be able to put it on the floor and get it to him.
Thomas banks it in as he hits the deck.
And now quickly Kentucky on the made basket comes to the other end.
Eulis back inside to Towns.
Good skip pass.
Harrison, that was a little bit wide right. Rebound to I.J. Reddy. Houston. Off the backboard. That'll go. Nice strong drive by the freshman out of Montgomery.
Love the way he used his body. Got it into the big guy. Got it over the top. When the help side came to make the block.
Eulis slipping all over the place. Tried to keep his dribble alive. And back comes Thomas. Hangs in the air. Timeout, Kentucky. 8-point lead.
The Bulldogs on a little bit of a run. Started by one miss. No offensive rebound. They push, then they get a steal. A couple easy baskets and attacking the rim.
6-0 run by the Bulldogs right now. Don't forget there's more.
Games at home. And Stephen Moody should get a lot of votes for Player of the Year.
Yeah,
he has been spectacular.
Well, you look at some of the Kentucky numbers, and Kentucky had a 32-game streak over the course of a couple of seasons that was ended by Georgia Tech. Mississippi State had something to do with the end of the last big, long winning streak back in 1996. Rick Pitino's club was heading to the SEC tournament. They lost their opening game, I think it might have been their first or second game of the year, to UMass, who was coached by John Calipari. They went on to win 27 straight until the SEC tournament in New Orleans, and it was the Bulldogs who took down Kentucky. Cats would go on to win the title, however, in '96, the big prize.
And that was a great Cat team, and this one's trying to do the same thing. Although watching these guys at shoot around, I think internally they would love a part of history, an undefeated season.
I think now it's when you're at 19, 20, 21, just my perspective, you know, you're still thinking about it, but it's not your motivation. I think at this point, it's got to be in your mind. I mean,
There's no doubt.
You've now set the standard at Kentucky.
4 more games left in conference, then you know you have the tournament. And the tournament, it's against the same teams you already played. There's no more going on the road playing in any hostile environment. Go to Nashville, try to take care of the tournament, and then obviously the big prize comes, and you're playing on neutral sites, and Big Blue Nation shows up better than anybody.
Well, you know, with the SEC tournament in Nashville at Bridgestone Arena, that'll be a lot of blue in the building. Ten-point lead for Kentucky. I.J. Reddy being swarmed by Lyles.
And one of the things I think of quickly when I see this Kentucky team out defensively, none of the big guys from Mississippi State or in this league are guarded like they're guarded by the Kentucky guys. They don't get it in practice. They can't simulate it. These guys are long, they're quick, they're aggressive, and it makes you rush passes and do things you don't want to do.
Timeout on the floor. 31-21. Cats out in front. 27-game streak as well during the course of the year. A guy that's trying to help him push it to 28 is Trey Lyles. He has one off his career high already here in the first half. 13 points.
6 of 8 from the field, but look at the quality of shots he's getting and really at point blank to the rim. You've got to try to make him a little more uncomfortable than he's been, but off to a terrific start.
Tyler Lyles out of the timeout to Harrison. Cauley Stein. Now Andrew Harrison along with Carl Anthony Towns. Trevante Bloodman working with Fred Thomas, Craig Sword, Oliver Black, and Gavin Ware. Andrew to Tyler Lyles. Might have got away with an extra step, and there Harrison couldn't get away with his extra step.
Solid defensive stop by this Mississippi State team. And this Bulldog squad, the big guys inside, it's such a physical task to guard these big Kentucky players. They post up, they push, they shove, they get in low position. It's going to be a fight all night long for Gavin Ware to hang in there.
Sword. Thomas will elevate for 3. Short.
Always has been a great corner shooter. Fred Thomas this junior season.
It's just tough to put points on the board. This Kentucky team giving up 52 points a game, second best in the country. Mississippi State averaging 62. That's 13th in the league. Bulldogs have misfired on their 6 3-point attempts tonight.
Yeah, a team that relies on the 3 ball. It's 35% in SEC play. Again, if Fred Thomas isn't confident on one end, sometimes he lets up on the other, as he did there. Harrison right down the middle for an easy 2. Aaron Harrison.
Aaron now with 7. Andrew has 3. Bloodman. Trevante Bloodman, the senior out of the Bronx, New York, averaging 4 points a game.
Good break of the press. Good pass by Houston. And right back on top of the Bulldogs is this Kentucky team. If they don't have it, they back it out. And now, again, it's more physical when you're starting to guard them through cuts, picks, screens.
Cauley Stein. Back to Lyles. Just threw it up, tried to draw some contact. Houston able to get out of the way. Bloodman. Black had it, couldn't hang on to it. Kentucky will have it.
You know, last time down when Mississippi State broke the press, Houston patient enough, really 3-on-2 numbers with the trailer. Tough bucket because Dakari Johnson's right there to maybe make the block, but Trevante Bloodman knocked that in.
1:20 to go before halftime. One aspect of this game we haven't talked about really was Kentucky. If they're able to win this one, they would clinch at least a share of their 46th SEC regular season championship.
And Dave, I will promise you there is a team cheering for Kentucky in the SEC tonight, and that is the Arkansas Razorbacks. They would love for Kentucky to win to set a matchup in Lexington.
Well, live women's college gymnastics continues Friday. Right here on the SEC ESPN Network with a doubleheader. First at 7, Kentucky takes on Florida. Then at 9, LSU takes on Alabama. Both meets are also live on the Watch ESPN app. Gavin Ware to the free throw line. Gavin, 74% at the free throw line this year. Pretty good numbers for the big fella, 67 out of 90. He is putting up the best numbers of his career as a junior.
Another one of those guys, the threesome. Sword, Thomas, Gavin Ware played a ton of minutes as freshman. Keeps getting better. Last 5 games, over 15 points a ball game, and one of the solid points of Rick Ray's squad. A local kid. Played for the Yellow Jackets here from Starkville High School.
Lyles got hit in the head. Starts the fast break the other way. Demetrius Houston.
Quick call to the 2-3 zone now by the Bulldogs. Great way to end the half.
Well, this place will go crazy if they can get a stop here. Shot clock turned off. Lyles.
Wow.
The long three, and that'll end the half. Woo. Kentucky led by as many as 14 here in the first half. Bulldogs had cut it to 6. Bulldogs finish hitting 5 of the last 7 from the field and keep it in single digits here at halftime. 36-27, the #1 team in America leading Mississippi State. Let's head to the studio. Here's Peter Burns and Tony Dell. Guys. Well, Tyler UNC back inside Humphrey Coliseum here on the campus of Mississippi State, where the student body turned out in full force. Those who could walk to the arena had a better shot than those who were driving in these conditions outside. Kentucky leads it by 9. They led by as many as 14. Dave Neal back alongside my All-American guard from Missouri, John Sunvold. And it certainly looked like Kentucky early on, John, had a chance to really open this up. But right before the last Tyler Lyles three-pointer at near the end of the half, it was a 6-point game. Good job by Mississippi State not to get run out of here.
Yeah, Bulldogs made 5 of the last 7 shots. And again, to win, that's what they have to do. They can't shoot 43% for the game and win this ballgame.
Trey Lyles, boy, he has been on fire since the opening tap.
Well, he's just so solid, so good with the basketball, so fundamentally solid with his footwork. He gets in position. If they don't double team him early, that's a tough matchup. And Craig Sword, we said he had to start well and play well. Pretty solid first half. 8 points. Got 4 of 4 from the free throw line. They need more scoring from him in the second half.
All right, let's get an update with Kaylee.
Well, Dave, Coach Calipari more concerned with his team's approach to this game rather than the X's and O's. I'm told during the half, he challenged his team to do what is being asked of them. But when it does come to X's and O's, he wants them feeding the ball to the post guys, but he wants those post guys posting deeper. When they do get double teamed and they kick it out, he doesn't want them settling for threes. More talk of the necessity of attacking the lane.
Thank you, Kaylee. We'll see how that plays out here in the second half. Look at our first half stats. Kentucky shoots 47%, right about their season average, where they lead the conference in that department.
You know, again, you can't go for 6 again in this half to win from three-point line. The one thing the Bulldogs did well, they kept Kentucky off the free throw line. Kentucky, though, was 5 of 5, but only 5 free throws.
Sword gets it back to Rockwez Johnson. Rock with just 1 point. They belong to Mississippi State. 18 seconds on the shot clock. One thing the Bulldogs did do better than they've done a long time, and that is hold on to the basketball. Only 4 turnovers in the first half for a team that turns it over more than 15 times a game.
We're solid again. See if they can get solid looks. There's one right there. Got to go up with it.
And a foul on Lee, who starts the second half along with Harrison Eulis, Carl Towns, and Devin Booker.
Dave, keep an eye on Devin Booker. He only had 5 minutes because of 2 personal fouls, was 2 of 3 from the field, but he, of all the players, has a scorer's mentality. And when you only get 5 minutes because of foul trouble, your first thought is, I can't wait to get back out on the court and get running and get playing.
Boy, Johnson having a tough time at the free throw line. He is 1 out of 5. That one looks good.
And that's rare. He's 69% free throw shooter. You're in your home building.
Might have been partially blocked by Sword right into the hands of Thomas. Bulldogs trying to run. I.J. ready. Bad ankle and all. Pull-up jumper. Looks silky smooth.
Good push. I.J. Reddy, one of the best things Rick Ray ever said to him was, you're not very tall, but when you're in the open court, size doesn't matter. So use your speed, get to an open look, pull up and shoot the jump shot. Goes only 5'11", and he pushes, little stutter step. He got Andrew Harrison leaning backwards and pulled up and shot it. Now when he's in a half court, when he goes inside the paint, much more difficult at that size.
Well, Aaron Harrison checks in for his brother Andrew. And Booker fouled by Thomas. You know, Devin probably, you know, he's coming back to a state, I wouldn't say his home state. He lists his home state, does Devin Booker, as Grand Rapids, Michigan. But he played his high school ball for a few years, since his freshman year, down in Moss Point, Mississippi. A lot of his friends tried to make the drive through the snow. Don't know how many of them made it up here, but he does have some in the building.
His dad, Melvin, lives in Moss Point, one of the great players at the University of Missouri, player of the year back in the 1994 Big 8 conference. My, how times have changed when I say Big 8 conference.
Yeah. And a slashing Houston will head to the free throw line.
Little energy from this Bulldog team coming out in the second half. They are trying to attack and push. And this is the guy that can do it. He is a high flyer. We've seen him have some special plays above the rim this season. His first in the SEC.
So Lee to the bench as Houston toes the line. You see the free throw story. Mississippi State, 14 attempts already. First time that Mississippi State is within 5 since it was 15-10.
And Dave, this Kentucky team has had a few close calls this season, and they have always been able to answer on the offensive end, whether with jump shots made down the stretch or free throws made. If this Mississippi State team can keep it close or grab a lead, does the good fortunate and the luck at some point run out for this Kentucky team? But the Bulldogs have to make shots.
Boy, big rebound by Karl Anthony Towns. Eulis in the corner. Harrison tries to dump it into Cauley Stein. Guarded by Johnson. Boy, he has about 5 inches on Rock Johnson, and a foul on the floor. Let's see who that goes against. That'll go against Houston.
You know, one rule that I'd like to see changed in college basketball would be the and one, the continuation, like they do in the NBA. Put it on the floor, and once he got bumped and he continued it, I think it should be good. It would help scoring a little bit.
Yeah.
It rewards the offensive player for making a play, an aggressive attacking play. Matchup zone defense. Keep an eye on Booker.
There's been so much talk about scoring in the college game and how do you get it going. I was talking to Billy Donovan last week about it. He says one simple thing is Booker knocks home a three is expand that lane, make it an NBA-type lane. That'll clean up a lot of the issues around the basket and maybe provide some more opportunities.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm not quite convinced some of the people think the 24-second clock would help. I think that's good for NBA guys. We don't have NBA talent taking an NBA shot. Watch this catch and release. We've seen this all season. It's pure. And there aren't many better in the country at doing what he does.
4 threes for Kentucky, 0 for 7 for the Bulldogs. Here's Sword into the lane. Boy, that is just troubles. Willie Cauley-Stein floats over. Speaking of floating, I.J. Reddy. Now a little run-out, pull-up jumper, and out and goes down after it clanks off the backboard.
Smart steal. If he misses it, it's 2 points for Kentucky going one way. And I played for a coach that said you better make sure that's 100% steal.
That'd be Coach Stewart?
Yes, Norm Stewart. One of the great ones.
Cauley-Stein, nowhere to go with it. Gets it to Towns.
And folks and Kentucky Wildcat fans would know Willie Cauley-Stein's never taken a three-point shot in his career. I thought maybe he'd let one go.
Booker's taken a few in his young career. That one off the back of the iron. No good.
They got numbers. Oh.
Rock Johnson.
Boy, he had Houston. If he gets the ball, if he gets the rebound, Houston has a breakaway done.
Well, the Bulldogs down 6 here with the basketball in their hands. Timeout. Mississippi State, 16:21 to go in the contest. To Mississippi tonight for some basketball. Kentucky leads here in Starkville, 39-33. But coming up after this one, we'll head to Oxford, Mississippi, where they have been blanketed with snow as well. But game on. Georgia and Ole Miss coming your way, 9 o'clock Eastern as we wrap it up here from Starkville. Two teams certainly that have played well this year and have played themselves into a possible NCAA tournament bid. Sword in traffic, bumped, and he'll head to the line.
An explosion by Sword. That is what he does exceptionally well. He's quick and he's strong.
You know, I look at the Kentucky bench and I see coaches getting frustrated, but when you got a guy that quick driving the lane, what as a defender, what can you do to slow him down? I mean, he is going 100 miles an hour, and it's hard to get position, it would appear.
Well, a couple things. I mean, you can't square him up because now he can attack either leg. You've got to make him go one way, but the on-ball defender's got to be better. You can't just let him have a lane to go and go hard, because then the big guys, great shot blocker or not, if he's coming at you, do you take a charge? He's good enough to jump sideways.
Right.
You really have to let him leave his feet and then block the ball up by the rim.
Sword misfires for the first time at the line. Now with 9 points.
Nice pass. Beautiful.
And Towns finishes on the other end. Karl Anthony Towns with 6 to go along with his 7 rebounds.
The Harrisons are so good at understanding different points of the game of when to put more pressure on the offensive end. And now Aaron Harrison will be matched up on Sword, and it'll all be about containment.
And another foul. This time it's Demetrius Houston slashing to the lane. He'll have some free throws when we come back. Kentucky's lead is 7. Karl Anthony Towns trying to get it going. He's got 6 tonight. Back in a moment. Conference standings brought to you by Hardee's as we inch ever so close to the SEC tournament in Nashville. Kentucky sitting atop the standings, followed by Arkansas. That'll be the next battle for the Cats this weekend, and you know that the Hogs are just licking their chops for a chance to stop the streak, if it's still a streak, on Saturday. Ole Miss, of course, at 10-4, coming up after our game. They are a half a game out in front of Texas A&M, who made a valiant comeback last night at Arkansas, but just couldn't close it out. You look at the way the tournament would look if it ended today. These would be the teams that would play on the first night, the first round on Wednesday. Auburn and South Carolina, Vanderbilt and Missouri. The double byes would go to Kentucky, Texas A&M, Arkansas, and Ole Miss. Can't wait to get it going. One of the better years in terms of competitiveness we've had in the SEC. Should be a lot of fun at Bridgestone Arena.
Yeah, you always look, when you look at all those teams, who could spoil the whole thing? You know that Vandy team? They shoot the lights out. And if they ever got hot and Damian Jones is playing well inside, that would be a fun team to watch. I think a year from now they're going to be much better. But when they get it going, not so sure on a 3 or 4 day run. That'd be fun to watch.
So Houston gets 1 out of 2. Back to a 6-point game. Kentucky shooting 44% from the field. Same number as Mississippi State. Lyles can't get that to go.
And Rick Ray will take that. Kentucky shooting jump shots. Still only 5 free throws they've taken. Terrific pass by Sewell.
Well, Mississippi State has cut this to 4.
And here comes the hump.
Alley-oop. Towns can't finish, but a foul at the rim.
On a long missed jump shot by Kentucky. They are getting back, but lack of communication and lack of where not only they knew where the ball was, but you've got to know, guard the basket. Pick up ball, pick up basket, and then find other guys. Kentucky has not really forced the issue inside much. Early in the game they did. They put it in the post. Very successful, but they have not gone back to that. They've settled for some jump shots.
Their first 8 points of the game were all in the paint. They have 22 points in the paint now. Towns stretches it back to 7. 14:37 to go. Off the mark, rebound into Willie Cauley-Stein's hands. Almost a takeaway by Sword. Cauley-Stein still with a goose egg in the point department. Does have 6 rebounds. Only 2 field goal attempts for Willie Cauley-Stein.
Doesn't bother him. I mean, again, he doesn't search for stuff. Last 4 ball games, he's shooting 74%. Doesn't put up big numbers, but the LSU game when they had to have him, 15 points, 7 rebounds. He'll step in when he can.
I love this comment when he was taking some criticism for not being aggressive, and he says, well, I'll just start dunking on people then. All right.
Oh, that's what you want.
Right. And he promptly went out and did that a few times. Booker, pull-up jumper inside the arc. Devin Booker starting to get it going now. Booker with 9.
Not many can do it, and what I mean by that, he can catch and shoot. He can put it on the floor with 1 bounce, pull up and shoot it. He can go 2 bounces, which gets you the mid-range game, or he can take it to the rim. Well schooled, well brought up in how to get the jump shot, how to play. Another good pass.
Boy, Rock Johnson almost had a chance for a 3-point opportunity. Instead, 2 free throws coming up. He's fouled by Willie Cauley-Stein.
And as good as Kentucky was the first 10 minutes of this game defensively, they are equally now as bad. They are not. Their hands are down. They're allowing bounce passes to go from the top of the key all the way underneath the basket on easy angles. And Rock Johnson's having a tough ball game.
2 of 7 at the free throw line. The rest of the team is 9 out of 11 at the line. Rock Johnson missed them both. Sitting on 4 points. Harrison off to Johnson. A little too strong. There's Cauley-Stein. He's finally on the board.
Play made by Andrew Harrison, though. Attack mode puts pressure on the defense.
Back to a 10-point game. Johnson trying to work on Cauley-Stein. Hits the back of the rim. Gavin Ware fouled on the way up. Cauley-Stein has 3 fouls. Let's see who that will go against Dakari Johnson. And for Dakari, that'll be his second. Let's check in with Kaylee.
Well, Dave, Coach Calipari has made it very clear throughout the season that his message to Andrew Harrison has been attack or you're coming out. He's told him, be aggressive. I'm not worried about poor decisions, a turnover here or there, if you play smart and you play fast, because when you do, you're as good as anybody in the country.
And Coach Cal has publicly said that those two are playing really well with their aggressive demeanor, mindset, in terms of taking it to the basket the last few games. But not so much tonight.
And we forget, I mean, Andrew Harrison and obviously his brother, they're only sophomores. And we sometimes think of them as their 25-year-old guys and veteran players. They've played a lot of minutes. First 19 games, Andrew Harrison really struggled shooting the ball and being aggressive. But that has changed, and he's become much better.
Boy, Aaron's toss. Now Mississippi State trying to cut into this 8-point lead. Kentucky's led by as many as 14. That was back in the first half. It was a 9-point game at the break. Here's Oliver Black. Left hand won't go over Cauley-Stein.
Obviously, the message for this Bulldog team at halftime by Rick Ray was we're going to attack. No matter the result, we're going to attack the rim, see if we can get some good looks and go to the free throw line.
Offensive foul on Aaron Harrison.
Anticipation sometimes defensively. You got to think, where's your guy going to go, and try to beat him to the spot. If an offensive player lowers the shoulder a tad, that gives the official.
Yeah, defensive player doesn't have to be set.
Right. And really the key, I think an official looks for that offensive guy. When they lower that shoulder into the chest, that whistle's usually going to go against you as an offensive player.
Here's Black on the perimeter. Boy, Eulis all over Bloodman. Now it's Houston. Bumps Cauley-Stein. Fall away. Won't go. Towns the outlet to Booker. He's got Cauley-Stein off to his right. That's how you run a fast break. And a foul on the inside against Kentucky as Gavin Ware is working hard. 10-point game, 11:27 to go. Willie Cauley-Stein running the break.
Well, you said he didn't have any points, and if I'm Devin Booker running the floor, anybody, throw it, just keep it inside the building, and he'll finish it for you.
Well, Kentucky put up 100 on Auburn. We'll check on that when we come back. They put up 120 against Vanderbilt. Just a crazy day, and certainly in all of that was the Tony Delk celebration. For more on that, let's check in with Kaylee.
Well, I asked Tony Delk after that ceremony if his 1996 national championship team could beat this Kentucky team. He said, well, we play different styles. This Kentucky team is great at the half court. We were great at the full court. He said, we pressed, we turned people over. This team, they're long and athletic, but we were quicker. And we had better shooters. Well, guys, if I remember it, a guy who racked up 1,890 points over his career was the best shooter of them all.
Look at that team that was coached by Rick Pitino. They call them the Untouchables. You think about the names on that team. You had Epps, Delk, Walker, Pope, Padgett. I mean, an incredible group of guys. And I think as we've talked about it, Richard Williams, who, by the way, does color for Mississippi State Radio, coached Mississippi State, a team that beat them in the SEC tournament, would end up in the Final Four that year with a great Bulldog club. There were 9 NBA players on that group from Kentucky.
Yeah, I was talking to him before the game. We were talking and comparing teams, and it's hard to compare nowadays with all the one-and-dones and the different, what another good play, another good lob pass. But he said the 96 team, obviously they had veteran leadership. I mean, they had juniors and seniors and guys that could really shoot it. And congratulations to Tony. What a great, great honor, and well-deserved. Most outstanding player for the 96 Final Four, Tony Delk.
5-second violation against the Bulldogs. Couldn't get the timeout called in time.
And this is what Kentucky does, Dave. I mean, the emotion in the building is kind of ready to explode. I mean, they're close to making a run, the home squad Bulldogs, and then all of a sudden you come out of a timeout, you give up a lob dunk, then you have a turnover, and the crowd quietly kind of sits back a little bit.
Yeah, it's been relatively quiet, even though Mississippi State's kept this to single digits until moments ago.
This Kentucky, again, this Kentucky team is young. They're a great team. They're young, but they don't play young. They have moments, and Cal will say, we have many moments when we play young. But they seem to have such a poise about it. And maybe, I think, maybe because the Harrisons are running the show. Willie Cauley-Stein's now in his junior season. Less pressure on the incoming freshmen this season than maybe they've had the past couple years. Well, Anthony Towns is such a big presence inside.
There's been some talk that maybe outside of Jahlil Okafor of Duke, Towns might be the #2 pick in the draft. On the way up, Lyles will head to the free throw line. Let's get more from Kaylee.
Well, guys, Tyler Ulis will tell you that Andrew Harrison's play has really lightened the load on him and relieved that pressure you were talking about. Ulis says, because I don't feel much pressure, I just try to go out and play. I don't have to take on all the responsibility as a point guard, which as a player in high school, he was used to. But he feels that Andrew Harrison's role in all this helps him be better. It's the same message you'll hear from a lot of these players, whether it's from Karl Anthony Towns and the success that he's having. He will talk about the effect playing against Dakari Johnson, Marcus Lee, Willie Cauley-Stein in practice will have on him, how that makes them better. That's why Coach Cal is having these guys scrimmage at this point in the season, even if it's for as few as 10 minutes, because the competitiveness these guys bring against one another brings out the best in them.
Well, we've heard a couple of guys talk about how it is truly those scrimmages end in fights. I mean, Cal having to keep that whistle close by. Sword, keep it alive for the Bulldogs here.
Dave, much like an NBA practice. Second five wants to beat the first five in the NBA all the time. And people used to ask me, but you guys don't do much in practice in the NBA. I said, no, it's a war. And the first team hates it because they're tired. And Kentucky now stretches this lead.
Harrison with 10. His second three of the game. It's a 16-point lead. It is the largest of the game after a 15-3 Wildcat run. And we dip under 10 minutes to go.
Kaylee mentioned Tyler Ulis, another one of the great Chicago players out of Marion Catholic that Kentucky has had. Started with Antoine Walker. Great article by Teddy Greenstein in the Chicago Tribune.
Carl Anthony Towns. Whoa. The separation has begun. The Cats are up 18. They have hit 5 straight.
Sometimes you're looking for a run, and the Wildcats are on a little bit of a run.
Towns with a dozen. It was a 4-point game at 41-37, and since then, the Cats have exploded to this 18-point advantage.
And no matter the weather, Big Blue Nation shows up, don't they?
Well, as far as the regular season goes for Kentucky, obviously a couple of challenges remaining, taking on Arkansas, but you see, according to the BPI, that Kentucky has a 97% chance of winning that game, but they go to Georgia on Tuesday night, and they finish up with Florida.
You know, the Razorbacks got this Kentucky team, not all the same players, but they got them twice last year. They beat them in Rupp Arena, not only beat them at home in Fayetteville, and Mike Anderson's team has enough offensive weapons, and we know how they play defense.
Ulis causing a 5-second call on the perimeter against I.J. Reddy.
It'll be interesting to see the matchup of Bobby Portis against all of the bigs for Kentucky. Portis is going to get a lot of votes again for Player of the Year in this conference.
I've said this time and time again. The opportunities I've had to watch Bobby Portis play this year in person, you walk out of the gym and you know full well he was the best player on the court.
Yes, it's been a treat. The growth of his game from his freshman to sophomore year. He's a double-double guy. Not a stat stuffing. He doesn't search for points. He gets them, and he accepts all challenges. That's why next week, or this Saturday's game, is going to be really special.
Aaron Harrison adding to his point total now with a dozen. Mississippi State's gone 6 minutes without a field goal.
how quickly a game can get away from you when you play this Wildcat team. Their defense is relentless. They don't let up. They wall you out. You have a hard time getting it to the lane. Mississippi State had a few possessions early where they could get to the free throw line. Now it's a lot of jump shots, and a lot of them are one and done.
Lyles tracks down that rebound. And Eulis,
smart foul,
slowing down Craig Sword at midcourt.
There's a break going the other way, and Eulis simply knows if he tries to make a steal but make the foul, they won't get 2 points running out.
.20 game as Craig Sword heads to the free throw line. He's sitting on 9 points, 5 of 6 at the line. The junior out of Montgomery, Alabama. Kentucky trying to get some substitutions in, but they'll wait. Let him in after this first free throw. So now Booker and Andrew Harrison can check in along with Rockwez Johnson. Oliver Black to the bench. Mississippi State now shooting 37%. Remember, Kentucky holds opponents to 34% shooting. That is the best number in the entire country. They also hold their opponents to just 52.5 points a game.
And really on pace to set an NCAA record, to be a low in kind of the modern day of basketball. Stanford back in 99-2000, defensive field goal percentage 35%, so they're below that.
Here's Lyles. Andrew Harrison, top of the key, got it to go over Thomas.
When Booker comes on the floor, because they focus on him, a defensive team, they face guard, they get after him, other guys will be more open for shots.
Towns with a major league rejection. Starts to break the other way. Booker can't convert. There's Lyles. He's fouled. He'll head to the free throw line, and it all started with Karl Anthony Towns.
Bulldogs running out of gas. They've attacked. And Anthony Towns said, not so much.
And then back the other way, Trey Lyles helps Kentucky to a 23-4 run as Lyles has a new career high of 17 on 7-11 shooting. Kentucky rolling here in Starkville. Karl Anthony Towns. Oh, getting it done here.
It's on a 17-2 run, 64-41 over Mississippi State. And you want to know how to play defense? Well, you've got to have an eye on the ball, an eye on your man, same thing, and understand on the weak side when it's going to happen. And as we run this play and we stop it, take a look at the defense and where they're going to come from. Understanding when they attack the basket, you must protect, and Kentucky does a good job as anybody. There's the block shot. Now the push, and if you don't get back defensively and match up, especially with the big bodies at Kentucky, all big men run the floor, and they all finish.
Trey Lyles trying to add to his 17 points. He converts the three-point play. Trey Lyles now with his 6th game in double figures. You got to go back to the opener against Grand Canyon. That's when he had 14. Well, he has just shattered his season high. Coming off 9 points against Auburn. Mississippi State hasn't made a field goal in almost 8 minutes, and it's snapped there. They're one of their last 10 after that, followed by Gavin Ware. Ware with 7.
And David, think about it. All of their scoring's really been around the rim second half. They've either been fouled or finished. They've not made many jump shots. They've not been able to get good looks for their shooters outside. That's what Kentucky does to you. And this Kentucky team, this will be the 28th win. Another good pass. Ooh.
Oh, my goodness.
Woo. Showtime.
Andrew Harrison to Aaron Harrison. That was pretty. Oh, man. How about the hops? They are putting.
This is going to turn into a sports center like 5 of the top 10.
Say, this is a package.
A few of them.
Here's Ware, gets it off to I.J. Reddy. Fred Thomas won't hesitate to shoot, and he knocks home a 3. That is their first 3 of the game. They're 1 out of 10, but you can't blink because Devin Booker goes the other way.
And Book loves to run to the other end. I think he always understands that his big guys are going to clear the board or get it out of the net. Oh,
Dipsy-do underneath from Fred Thomas.
How about that shot? He reverse pivoted midair.
5:25
It's going to be a showtime the last few minutes.
Here's Lyles. Houston the rebound. Kentucky shooting 52%. Thomas has posted double figures to lead Mississippi State with 11. Nice little crossover. Can't convert, however. Tapped around, and Lyles finally rips it out of there. Aaron Harrison had it knocked out of his hands. Well, watch the Harrison twins at their finest.
You think they've played together a little bit over the years, huh? Oh, my. Just stared. Yeah.
How about the hops coming from Aaron Harrison? I mean, his head was near the rim.
Staring at that rim.
Wouldn't know what that's like.
Oh, and his brother had a big smile on his face when he came back down.
You don't see a lot of that in my church league.
The Presbyterians and the Catholics,
right.
they're not going at each other
that.
like that.
Yeah.
I thought the Baptists had some hops when they show up.
We got out of that league. So Aaron Harrison with 16 points, 6 of 10 from the floor.
How quickly a game changes.
Yeah.
And this is the greatness of this Kentucky squad. However, this season ends for them, which nothing less than a national championship will be accepted by them as a team or their fan base. But this is a special squad.
Bloodman had it blocked by Lyles. Lyles at 5'9" with a perimeter block shot. The alley-oop. Mississippi State returning the favor as Demetrius Houston elevates.
We are going to have top 10. 10 of them.
The whole top 10 will be from this game.
Here.
Here's Houston again. Up and under won't go down.
Well, Houston's a high flyer. He stays up in the air so long.
Just a freshman out of Montgomery, Alabama.
Oh, my.
Big crossover, but Andrew can't convert. Well, we've seen this a bunch from Kentucky, but Mississippi State with their last alley-oop. Entering the highlight reel, Rick Ray knew this was going to be a challenge for his club. People talked about turnovers as a big factor in this one, but the Bulldogs only 7. Blocked by Dakari Johnson. That is 8 blocks tonight for Kentucky. Well, Demetrius Houston trying to get into the action. The youngster showing he's got some hops. Alley-oop the other way, but it's all Kentucky. They're up 21. Back in a moment. Time for All-State Good Hands play. And there's a bunch of them for Kentucky. A lot of rim rattlers today. Karl Anthony Towns with some explosive dunks. And how about the Harrisons in on the action? Off the feed from Andrew Harrison. Aaron throwing one down. And if you want to see more of that, join us in Nashville. If the season were going to end today, this is how the matchups would unfold. Of course, 2 weeks of basketball left. But Auburn, South Carolina, Vandy, Missouri would start things on Wednesday night. And you would see an interesting matchup, Tennessee, Florida in the second round. Georgia would await the winner of the Vandy, Missouri. Vandy could give some teams some trouble with the way they shoot. Of course, Kentucky, Texas A&M, Arkansas, and Ole Miss would have the double byes.
6 teams in, as if we ended today of NCAA tournament. And a few of them still have some work to do because you don't want to get to that bubble. If you put yourself on the bubble, you may not control what happens.
Well, LSU is one of those teams that needs a strong finish, I think, to solidify their spot. They're part of the 6 that would make it.
Remember last year, Arkansas didn't. They played well towards the end, got to the bubble, then lost first round. For the second night, they lost in Atlanta in the tournament and knocked them out.
Thomas with the 3, his second 3, give him 14 points. Andrew Harrison, 3 assists tonight. Kentucky with 14 assists as a team on 27 field goals. They're shooting 50% from the floor. Devin Booker with a deep 3, and Booker now with 14. That's his second 3.
He moves like a great shooter. I mean, he looks for where he can position his body, where he can move the defender, and he is great coming behind a screen because of his size and his ability to shoot it deep.
Kentucky with their most points in a road game since they played UCLA in Chicago back on December 20th. And they put up 83 in that game. Rock Johnson fouled. He'll head to the free throw line with 2:18 to go. Boy, Devin Booker's just so smooth.
Well, he's a catch, so he sets his guy up, but if he stops right behind the big guy, the defender can't. If he moves over, you don't have the shot. So he steps right behind him, and even though the offensive player leaves, the defender can't get to you when your shot's that quick. Then the release is right on.
Well, Kentucky's up 19, trying to close this one out, but certainly travel plans for all of us, including Kentucky, have been a little bit skewed. For more on that, Kaylee, what's going on with the Cats?
Yeah, that's the truth, Dave. Per usual, the team would be leaving tonight on a charter to head back to Kentucky, but that won't be possible. They will actually spend the night tonight in Starkville, which is something they never do for a road game. They will practice here in Starkville as they prepare for Arkansas tomorrow. Wheels up late in the afternoon for an evening arrival back in Lexington.
Well, it's that time of the year. Things like this happen.
Yeah, better to be safe. And, you know, what the league's all about, too. There's a game tonight. Rick Ray, you know, telling John Calipari, our arena's for use, and we're practicing from this time to that. You can have it, blah, blah, blah. So,
well, they've developed, John Calipari and Rick Ray have really developed a nice relationship. They don't know each other that well, but over time, John Calipari has become a fan of Rick Ray and how his team plays, and actually sends him text messages after big wins, telling him congratulations, and it's nice Coach Cal taking notice.
Yeah, not so nice tonight, though.
No. Well, he's got to send a message.
I like your team, but I still think we're going to get you.
Yeah.
28-0 this Kentucky team will go to.
No team in SEC history has started like this Kentucky team. Remember, Florida rattled off 30 straight last year, but they had a loss earlier in the year.
Yep.
Before they were knocked off at the Final Four. Hawkins can't get that to go. Matter of fact, don't forget Florida. Boy, how far have they fallen? They went 18-0 in the league last year. Just a tremendous team. And then last night, loses to Missouri, snapping the Tigers' 13-game losing streak.
Billy Donovan's had a hard time with guys, not necessarily to term buying in, but taking responsibility, stepping up, being better players. I've always said when one great player leaves, the next guy, it's not handed to you to be an all-SEC player or all-American. A lot of players kind of assume that's going to happen.
Well, Kentucky will win this one. It was a 4-point game with about 14 and a half minutes to play in this game, and then the Cats just opened up a can of you-know-what. They will win this one by 18. You'll see Booker with 14, Harrison with 16, Towns with 12, Lyles with 18, as Kentucky will shoot 49%. And a nice conversation between Rick Ray and John Calipari, and the Cats do it again. 28 consecutive wins to start the season. It was a sluggish, maybe 3/4 of the game, but then when Kentucky had to put their foot on the gas, boy, did they ever.
You know, I thought they started the first 5 or 10 minutes. They were really impressive, defensively, offensively. Then there was a lag, which I think is normal. The first 5 minutes of the second half wasn't that impressive, and then all of a sudden, again, upgraded a little bit. Offensively, they were faster. Defensively, they were back on top, and that's why you're undefeated. You're 28-0. To beat them, you better play 40 minutes.
Well, John Calipari just picked up his 180th win as Kentucky's head coach, and he's alongside Kaylee.
Coach, Mississippi State brought this game within 4. How do you explain how your team ratcheted things up?
I don't know. We had some guys not play well today, which is, you know, Dakari didn't play well. Tyler didn't play well. Marcus Lee played okay. I mean, but we're a different team when Andrew attacks and when Aaron attacks, when they don't settle. Because they're so big and so skilled, they get in the lane, it's impossible. I don't know what you do. If you come up, they throw lobs. If you don't come up, they score. So, you know, but again, it's hard to go through a season and play great every night out. And they played. I mean, I'm happy it snowed down here because we had half a house because no one could get here.
You say your goal is to get each of your players to be the best version of themselves. When you are frustrated with that, what happens next?
Well, we talk about it. Why aren't you playing the way we're asking you to play? Because in most cases, they're doing something away from what we're telling them to do. You know, again, I thought Trey Lyles was outstanding. See, Trey's the X factor. He's been sick. He is as good as any player in the country, but he's going to have to fight, and you got to dominate when you can.
The weather may have kept some fans at home tonight, but it's also keeping you guys in Starkville longer than you would originally be planned.
It's going to be a tough deal because normally we're in our beds by 11:30, 12 o'clock. Now what will happen is we stay here, we practice here. You know, we got Arkansas. Arkansas has beaten us the last 3 times. They beat us at home. And so we got a tough deal going on. We got to, hey, it is what it is. We'll figure it out.
On to the next. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.
Thank you, Kaylee. Thank you, Coach Cal. Wildcats win it here in Starkville, 74-56. The final score, they push it to 28-0, the #1 team in America. That'll do it from here. Coming up next, Georgia and Ole Miss. We'll be back with more. But now, let's send you back to the studio. From a snowy Starkville to a snowy Charlotte. Guys, it's all yours.